You know, when I was asked to do this job a few months ago, I would never have imagined that I would have the chance to spend half an hour with this guy, Wynton Marsalis. Your father was a musician, and you traveled a lot with him.
I didn't travel with him that much. But I grew up watching him teach.
And with his band?
Not with his. I watched his band. I saw them play. I was a kid. I mean, I wasn't qualified to play with them, but he taught us in high school. He was our high school instructor. And the first day of class, one of his great teachers, he set 4 chairs out in the middle of a room. And he said, describe what you see. So, of course, each of us was describing what we saw because we thought the test was, what do you see? Then I was, who you see up in the ceiling? I see this. Another person, oh, I see a mirror. Another person, I see a window. Another one, I see a chalkboard. I see a, well, look on the ground. What you see? I see this and that. So when you got finished and we all described what it was, we thought he was going to critique what we saw. Well, you said this, but actually this is there. When we finished, he said, do any of you doubt that you're all sitting in the same room? So we started laughing because that was his philosophical perspective. We all know we're in the same room, but y'all all saw something totally different. How could that be? And he said, remember that. Now, multiply that by 8 billion, and that's what being alive is like. So that, from a philosophical standpoint, I grew up with him, and he was my principal teacher and my model. I looked at him, and he's a very spiritual guy, very serious about music, taught people with no fanfare, loved to teach in the hood, loved to teach people who didn't have a lot of education, but he was always a source of education.
The very first time I talked to you, which was about a month ago in Paris, we were with the country doctor, who's your friend.
The country doctor, man.
And the country doctor said to me, Christian, what's your biggest challenge? Now, in my real life, I work for the Orchestre de Paris in a concert hall, which is up in the top northeast of Paris. And I said to him, I wish that my hall was in a place that people could get to more easy. And he immediately launched into me and said, no, that's completely wrong. The placement of this concert hall is the best thing that you got.
Yeah.
And it really challenged me.
But it is the best thing that you have. Mm. People get in the hood or they get in the community and they don't want to be community people. They want to talk about it. Mm. They want to find the one person for the community and put them on the brochure, or they want to do some type of
to say that they're doing
fake education that's not going to help anybody. But what they don't want to do is engage with people, talk with people, listen to people. Then they think, oh, we can't program complex music, or we have to now program something that's on the radio, or we have to do this. You don't have to do that. Mm. But you do have to be humble and reach out to people and expose them to what you were trying to do and listen to what they would like to have done. And it is a concert hall. People don't expect they're going to go into a concert hall like they go to a dance club. Mm. But they do have to be educated about it. If you don't, I remember the first time my mother took us to a concert hall. Man, we were the only black people in the hall. This was in the 1970, 1969 when the black people went to the symphony in New Orleans. We had our clothes on, man. We would get our stuff off the Sears catalog, and we felt like we were from another planet. And she didn't grow up with classical music. She didn't necessarily even want to hear it, but she set an example for us. And we sat there and we listened to it. And we said, damn, it's only one black guy in the orchestra, and he plays flute. So me and my brother, we were laughing. I ended up meeting the guy at a music camp 4 years later, Richard Harrison, fantastic flautist. And that was the beginning of me listening to orchestral music. And she just took us on a whim. It was 4 of us. So it was a struggle for her to get all of us out. And we sitting down, we kids, man, we don't want to listen to whatever it was the orchestra was playing. And the communities are that way. Embrace them. And bring them in, have classes, reach out to people, bring them, let the hall function the way your hall functions, great in the community anyway, but bring them into the music and don't feel like because something is sophisticated, a person who's not exposed to it is never gonna like it. Those people will take great pride in that if you reach out to them. And it's gonna take a longer time. It's gonna be one time you reach out and next year the hall is full. No, but in 10 years, man, the people will defend that hall.
But the goal shouldn't be to fill the hall.
No, but
the goal should be that it's an asset for the community.
Fill the hall. Because when it's an asset for the community, it's going to fill. Because there's not that many seats. Think of how large the community is and how many seats you have.
I imagine you've told this story before. I heard an interview when you talked about your mum when you got scholarships to go to Juilliard and do all this stuff. and what she said to you really touched me in terms of getting you back on the ground somehow.
Well, it was really more the academic schools like Yale, and I got to not to music schools.
Yeah.
She said, "Oh, I see you got it from Yale, and you got, ooh, these are some really big schools, honey." She said, "But you know, I don't want you to just think about your education, but think about the substance of your education. I can give you a degree that says I am a fool, and you'll run all over the world with just so much pride showing your degree. What is the substance of your education?" My mom was real smart, though. I mean, she was like the salutatorian or something of her class. She was very, she was on top of stuff philosophically.
I want to talk just for a moment about, I know very little about your world, your jazz world. I've never engaged, unfortunately, but there is one thing that combines different worlds, which is improvisation. And I think that if you'd asked any of those 60 kids in the junior orchestra to stand out and improvise, they'd have run under the nearest music stand to hide from it. And I wonder what they can learn from you, or what in general they can learn, because it shouldn't be something to be scared of, but generally people in our world are scared of it.
Well, the failure of Western education has been to learn from the people they enslaved. Mm. And that failure is... because in order for them to enslave the people, they had to adjust the philosophy. Mm. So the Christianity and all that could go along with you exploiting the person, so those people were less than people. Mm. Now, in the 20th century, you have all these people come up who are from these type of cultures, who have other sets of skills. Are they human beings all of a sudden? Well, you got to make that negotiation. Now, are we going to teach our kids what are the greatest achievements of their way of thinking? So far, the answer to that in our country, I can't speak to other countries, has been no. One day that will change. To be on the cutting edge of not exhibiting a type of Western arrogance is very difficult. Because arrogance is a thing that you feel like if you don't have that, you don't have anything. And you don't realize that once you let that go.
Like it's obligatory to have.
It's like when I was talking to my bass player about a tradition I didn't understand, telling him what they needed to do. Mm. It's so arrogant and entitled. And him as a kid telling me, man, you don't know what anybody is playing. Like, what gives you an opinion about it? Like, did you ever
find out and come back?
Yeah, did you ever listen to a drum? Yeah. So then, the tendency is to talk down to someone who you think you're superior to, and you know, they're kids. So whatever the adults teach them, they'll learn. I don't have to tell them anything about improvisation. They talk every day. They improvise. If you teach them those skills, they will learn it. If you don't, they won't.
Before you came here to Verbier, what did you expect, or what did you hope for?
You know, I don't. I think I've played maybe 5,600 gigs in my life. Yeah. I started playing gigs when I was 8 years old. I played regularly through high school from the age of 13. I joined a band, and I played an average of 150 gigs a year. I played in New Orleans with every kind of ensemble, from the symphony brass quintet to the circus, to New Orleans parade band, to a regular funk band, to kind of jazz bands with college students on a Wednesday. I couldn't really play, but they called me, and I was playing like Chick Corea tunes and stuff that was sophisticated for us at that time. In my adult life, I've had the chance to play with all kinds of masters, man. Yacoub Adi, great master from Ghana. Paquito de Rivera from Cuba. Chenguito, I stayed in his house. And Pedrito Martinez, and Hamilton Giolanda from Brazil, and Nasir Sharma from Iraq, Duduzo Makatini from South Africa. I consider all of them to be very close friends. And Igor Boutman from Russia. I have many friends. And even though I know about the war and it's unfashionable, you can't just act like your life stops, because there's a conflict that you... Certainly, as the type of musician I'm against all conflict and killing people and subjecting people to injustice. But your relationships are your relationships. And I learned from them, you know.
That makes sense.
Yes, okay.
I'm really sorry.
Well, maybe I should say that again, because I don't want to get caught up in maybe I'll
I'm really sorry. I don't know why that happened.
Maybe I'll start answering that question again because I don't want to get sidetracked in nothing about Ukraine and Russia.
Yeah.
That's just waste more
Actually,
time.
you know what? You can, in fact, because we had Kiss in here yesterday and we spent and I think you have an opinion and it's important.
Yeah, well, okay, that was my opinion. Like, I feel like the arts have to be involved always in diplomacy because we don't carry weapons. And we're not going to carry them. And a military conflict, of course, it's important to have a military because that's what the conflict is. But we come in and we pour water on stuff. We'll have different jobs. And when we lose that over the rightness or wrongness of a cause, and there are many wrong causes, regardless of your perspective, you know.
But I'll tell you the story. We spent 40 minutes with Yevgeny Kissin yesterday, and he changed one of the pieces in the program that he was playing in recital here from a very mundane Debussy piece to a Polonaise by Chopin, which he believes represents Chopin's vision of a country at war. And he made the statement, and he didn't make it super public, but people wrote to him afterwards and realized what he was saying, that he was really making a point.
Right. And you know, well, Afro-American, our position is always, it's what it is. We have a position of trying to realize democratic principles against tremendous odds. So we have always occupied that position of not accepting a Western status quo. And you know, so far I've spoken on these things many times. Every decade I write some type of piece that deals with social, cultural, political awareness and the need for participation. Of course, from my perspective, because it's all that I have. But I feel I didn't have an opinion about Verbier, I don't have an opinion about people until I meet them. I don't have an opinion about, I've learned over time, it's like my opinion about Latin music. I take the lessons to heart. Like when Carlos told me that, I understood over the years of meeting people, you don't know people, man. You don't know who they are. And the cliches you get or you hear or things you got to be there. Like the great Zora Neale Hurston, great Afro-American writer, says in one of her books, their eyes were watching God. You got to go there to know there. So now I have an opinion, but then I didn't think nothing.
There's been a kind of running theme a little bit with the discussions we've had in here about curiosity. And I think that, you know, the interviews I read of yours that you said right from the beginning when you were going to work with this guy or that guy, you really dug in so that you were curious about everything about that person so that when you were there to do it, you were there to do it. And the way that you talk about politics in the world, you talk about social issues and humanity and your humility with that. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but for me, I think young artists in general aren't as curious, perhaps.
You know, I don't know. I teach a lot of kids, and I love them in terms of their curiosity and but I'm sure in the era they're growing up in, I don't know that I understand it. Like we didn't have the internet when I grew up. Most of the things that are really influential for them, we didn't have that much information at our fingertips. So for me, there's more segregation by age now, but there was a lot when I grew up. So I don't know that. I always tell my students, I don't know what they're thinking. I listen to their music, or I'll go online and see what they're doing and where they're playing, and they text me and tell me, what do you think about this? And, you know, even everything down to prompting ChatGPT to say something instead of me what it said I would say. And I mean, they're creative and they know a lot of things. They come from different places. If anything, I blame the problems they have on us. I don't look at them. I think that the world we have given them has been a less than humane world, not kind, greedy, might makes right, money, many decisions that lack integrity. Most of the corruption in the world is not because of some young people. And the things that we have given them, pornography, trash, certain types of things that are not suitable for kids, especially right in the cusp of their adolescence, that we sell readily to them, happily, and celebrate executives who've made billions of dollars in that trade, what we do with commercials. I'm not mad at my younger people, you know. I think that we need an integrity check, but the integrity probably will have to come from them because we have not we have not shown ourselves to have that.
So then the easy question is, what role does music have in that world you've just described?
Well, music is consciousness. So in consciousness can be any way. It can be ignorant. Mm-hmm. It can be, but it is consciousness. Mm. So you learn how to speak your language through the music of your language. Mm-hmm. So the music is much more nuanced than the language itself. That's why your intonation when you talk to me determines how I hear what you're saying, much more even than what you tell me.
That's been a real pleasure.
Yeah,
and if there's one thing I could ask you to do, is just sign the wall behind you, if you wouldn't mind.